7, 8 months ago, when we formed this board in November, we decided that things should be done on a more of a long-range basis as far as projects go. So things have been done over the last 10 years, 15 years on an ad hoc basis. So with the past president's help of Billy Levine and Stuart Berkowitz, we formed this committee, and the committee hired the Chambers Group. Rick Stellinger's here from the Chambers Group. They're a nationally known group that has advised hundreds and hundreds of clubs and done construction at our club beginning in 1999. Is that right?
Correct.
And just as a background, the last time we did any type of renovation like this and proposed this to the club was in 1999. And at that time, I believe Billy and Larry you were on the board, Billy, right?
I was president.
And you were president, and Billy and Larry Fisher became president afterwards when it was passed. That project 15, 16 years ago was a $4 million project. And so that was passed 15, 16 years ago. Subsequent to that, and through this long-range plan, and through the assistance of the Chambers Group, we've identified about 30 to 40 projects that need to be done at this club. And the idea of the long-range plan was that when from board to board, when we have this plan in place, there should be kind of a roadmap as to how things get done at the club. It doesn't mean that the next board or the next president has to follow this roadmap. It just means that they should have an idea of where we're going. So that's how that came about. When the Chambers Group was hired, they toured the facility with us. They provided us a lot of insight and recommendations into things that we didn't even know about. They spent several days here and went through a lot of the things that need to be done, things that a lot of the people in this room don't even know about, like things like the HVAC project, the things you don't see is what I'm trying to say.
Boilers.
Obviously, yeah, boilers, for example. Generators, things of that nature, and that's all on the plan. So the obvious ones are easy. The ladies' locker room needs to be done. It's been, God, I don't even know how many years. I've been on and off a member here for 20 years, and I think it's come up every year in every board. I've been a board member from 99 till 98 till 05 in the last 5 years, so a long time it's been going on. That needs to be done. Irrigation, you're going to hear a lot about the irrigation study. This irrigation project, our irrigation system is 53 years old, and the technology has changed just a little bit over 53 years. I'm kidding. So there'll be an entire program on that, and then the financing. I want to talk about that briefly. The Finance Committee has come up with, I guess we'll call it a solution, an idea on how best to pay for this. And in great detail, it's in the booklet, and that will be brought out today too by Rick. I would ask that at the end of this, you can ask all your questions and try not to interrupt Rick and Mike. Mike Kuhn is here from, what's the name of the company, Mike?
Michael Kuhn Associates.
Mike Kuhn Associates, perfect. He's our irrigation guru, and he's going to discuss that right now, actually. I just want to say this. When you page through this book and you listen to this and watch this presentation, you're going to think that, oh, I like this, I don't like that, I like this, but I don't like that. And there is something for everyone in this club. We are trying to maintain our club and keep it, I would say, the best club in the area. And to do this, we have to move forward and continue on with future projects. If we don't do it, we fall behind the 8 ball. Things need to be done, and this is probably the best solution. And with that being said, I'm going to turn over to Mike, and then Rick is going to give his presentation. Again, hold the questions to the end.
All right, thank you for having me. Like Scott said, my name is Michael Kuhn from Michael Kuhn Associates. We're independent irrigation consultants out of the Metro Detroit area. The club brought in us in here a little over a year ago to do an evaluation on your irrigation system. I know probably 10 years prior to that, I think this was brought up again or previously with the issues you've had with your irrigation at the club. I just want to give a brief, I'll stay out of the way. Oh, I got to stay in the camera, sorry. I'll give a brief overview when we did the project or when we did the study of what we found with the system. And you can ask for a copy of the report if you'd like to. It's more detailed. Starting with the water source, you have a good quality water source here, the canal or the river coming through the property, which feeds into a small irrigation pond, which right now is, by today's standards, is quite small for the amount of water that you need on an 18-hole facility. The pump station is adequate to say the least. Most of the components in there, including the piping and the mainline piping going out into the irrigation system, are from the 50s to 60s. Some of the mainline piping is asbestos cement, transite they call it, but it's asbestos pipe, which hasn't been used really since the 60s. And anyone dealing with that pipe or maintaining or working on that pipe, if a failure occurs, there's asbestos in this pipe. And obviously everyone here should know somewhat of the hazards that are involved with that. As far as the irrigation system, the sprinkler system itself, some updates that were done in the early 90s to PVC lateral piping. There's been a lot of failures in the glue fittings. There's been a lot of failures this year, piping in general. I don't know how many failures Mike probably has on an annual basis. And it's not really the cost of the repairs, because they could be minor. It's the situation and the timing of the failures and the type of failures you have. And for instance, the main line that actually at the pump station building failed about a month or so ago. We all know what the spring's been like. It's for early summer, how wet it's been. And nothing really dramatic happened out of that. It could have, though. But that same failure would have happened about a week and a half ago during what we're seeing right now, weather-wise. You'd probably be looking at regrassing the evergreen on this golf course. So that's the type of failure that we're looking at potentially seeing with a system that's of this age, going back into the 60s. I mean, this is infrastructure when I'm looking at with a piping system, pump station system. That's the infrastructure to the irrigation system, the golf course, which is the number one tool, as the superintendent will acknowledge, or any superintendent will acknowledge, is the number one tool that they have in maintaining a golf course, especially by today's standards. And today's standards are a lot higher than they were back in the 60s. Sprinkler system, the sprinklers themselves are well over 15 years. They're rotating parts. They wear out. Mike has issues with them on a regular basis. The control system is as well is somewhat antiquated, and really the entire system has been, talking to the board and other members, this thing's been pushed off for quite a while. We talked about it in the report, some potential issues that could happen. I really didn't think the pump station, the failure that they were going to have, was going to happen that soon, but it literally months after we did the report, we had the failure to the piping system. Along with other issues that Mike's had this year. So, what we're proposing for the new system, a larger source of water, using the pond up on the top of the hill as a larger reservoir, a new variable frequency drive, vertical turbo pump station, something that will allow Mike to irrigate the golf course in a shorter water window, using less water and being more efficient. We're also going to use all PVC piping, which is going to have anywhere from a 50 to a 60-year lifespan, which will get you another 50 to 60 years down the road. These are the most important things when you look at an infrastructure of an irrigation system, is looking at the mainline piping system, making sure it lasts the club a significant amount of time, 30 to 50 plus years. Pump station capacity, just like when we just finished Kirtland Country Club. It was a bigger pump station. Everyone was worried about using more water. The superintendent there is using actually less water with the new pump station, because he's actually to push the envelope a little bit farther to keep playing conditions firm and fast like the members want, but he's able to do it with a bigger capacity pump station. And we're proposing to use the same thing here as well. Sprinkler system, smaller radius. You got larger radius sprinklers now, smaller radius, more efficient sprinklers that control specific areas across the golf course. Every sprinkler on the golf course will have individual head control that Mike will be able to control individual spots across the entire property. You'll have control over different plant types, whether it's bluegrass to bentgrass, or different playing types, which is fairways versus roughs. Greens versus surrounds, that kind of thing. So a lot more control with the system, which leads to a more efficient system, down the road. So that's what I got.
Little quick wardrobe change here. Well, hello, everybody. Good to see y'all. Put some smiles on your faces. This is not a hard meeting. I'm so pleased to be here tonight. I'm Rick Snellinger, and I'm the president and CEO of Chambers. And just a brief background a little bit before we get into the presentation on your club, on Chambers. Chambers has been around since 1899, and I'm not that old. I'm going in my third decade of working with private clubs across the United States. I am the president and CEO. I own the firm, and my specialty is exactly what we're doing this evening and have done for the last number of months, and that's work with your board and the long-range planning committee in developing a master plan for the club. And so I've given probably over 1,000 of these informational meetings. And I'm just glad that you're here this evening to hear from me and to ask your thoughtful questions at the end as we get there. I've given so many of these presentations and speak on a national level. If you have any questions about the private club industry when we get to the end of the presentation you want to talk about, I'm happy to talk about as well, and I'll stay after the presentation and answer any questions as well. So before we dive into the documents and the drawings and things, let me just talk a little bit about strategic drivers. Why do we even consider doing a master plan in the private club world today? And what do we talk about initially when we get to spend some time with the board and the long-range planning committee? Generally, from board's perspective, they talk about a lot of improvements and board's changes, and they talk a lot about some more improvements. And when we get hired, they want to dive right in to, well, we need to improve the HVAC system. We've got an irrigation problem on the golf course. We've got outside dining we've got to address. And things are wearing out. And I go, let's just relax a few minutes. And let's talk a little bit first and foremost, before we get in about changing any of the infrastructure or moving walls, let's first talk about what the member and guest experience is here like at BeechMont. What is it that we're offering that perhaps we could improve upon for the enjoyment of our members and certainly when they bring their guests here? And that was really the genesis of the thought process of when we got involved with what are the things that we're going to focus on. Now, this program has a lot of infrastructural issues. As you talked to Mike earlier, there's nothing exciting about an irrigation system under the ground in your golf course. But you know that you're a spell or a problem away from a catastrophic occurrence here, that your greens and your golf course is in failure. Well, the same thing happens with the clubhouse. When your boiler goes up and your air conditioning goes up, goodness gracious, you don't want to have the wedding here that the ice cream cake is melting. So you got to address a lot of those infrastructural needs. But it all comes down to what is it that's impacting our member and guest experience. Now, so oftentimes with clubs, they want to, as boards change and committees get involved, they come up with a project. And what we've talked to your board about and the committee about is stop doing projects, but develop a long-range plan. So if you page through that book, we have phase one of a certain amount of improvements that I'm going to walk you through. And then we have some future phases that will occur as finances are available and time occurs, but you want to see the whole picture. So it's a roadmap, a vision for the future of the club on certain improvements of amenities that improve the member guest experience. So it wants to be master plan oriented, studying all the pieces of the puzzle and then how it all fits back together again. Now, I've mentioned about the deferred maintenance and required maintenance. We worked here at the club in 1999. Back then, my partner, Bob Hickman, who was here early in the week, doing some design programs here and talking to Doug and some of the ladies about the ladies' locker room. He and I were partners back then, and so that's 1999. So here we are in 2015, almost 2016, and the useful life of everything in a club, whether the chairs you're sitting in or the carpet you're walking on, everything has a defined useful life. Now we're 15, almost 16 years into some of the improvements we did back then. And so we're past the typical useful life. And so we have to plan for that normal replacement in the club. That just makes good business sense in the club world. So this plan certainly addresses that. And we want to look at all the programs and facilities that address the activities here at the club, for the future of the club. Now, in the club world, every year there's a certain amount of attrition that occurs in the club. And you want to be attractive in your facilities to be able to recruit prospective new members that come in. And so that's first and foremost, is addressing your required maintenance. And then what is it we're going to improve? But also, what are some of the things that I'm going to share with you as we get into the plan, some of the trends that are out there in the private club world that we've attempted to address here in the first phase and also later. So you want to be, in this plan, no matter when you implement it, you want to meet that trend that's out there. And so you become relevant in the process of the prospective new members coming to join the club. And certainly you want to maintain a fiscally conservative approach. No one likes to spend a lot of money, or any kind of money. And but you have to realize that in a private club, and this question will probably come up a little later, so let me address the first one. Rick, I understand some of the components you're going on, but I don't use that area of the club. I don't use the ballroom. I don't even use the mixed grill. I just play golf. Why can't I just vote on that and have it separated? And I'm a gentleman. I never use the ladies' locker room, so why do we need to vote on the ladies' locker room? I'm perfectly fine. Well, you have to look at the holistic approach to a private club. There's a diverse membership with a variety of interests. You have a fitness center down here, but there are a number of members that don't use the fitness center. But you have it because there's a certain segment of the membership that likes to use the fitness center, and that makes you attractive in the recruitment of prospective members to come in. You have to have a refreshed ballroom because mothers of brides are looking at weddings and family events that are very important. You may not ever use that or have passed that point, but you have to look at it. As I like to say to clubs like yours that have been around as long as you are stewards of this club, and you need to prepare it for future generations, just like those that came before you and those in the room prepared it for the enjoyment that you have now. And so that's the approach that you take in master planning. So let's go through the clubhouse improvements. I'm going to take you through step by step and talk about some of the things that are proposed. And for benefit here, the blue areas on the drawings are for the member spaces. We've got a few areas that are in green. They're back of the house. And then we've got some beige areas, and they're outside. And they're primarily terrace areas and things. So to help me and to help you review the drawings, there'll be an arrow that comes in as I talk about each one of the spaces. So that first arrow that's up there is to enhance the bar lounge with a movable wall and the connection to this room that we're in now, the garden room. Now, it's interesting when we look back in 1999 and why we put the bar where we did. Okay, we put the bar in the grill room with the theory that you come in and you have a cocktail and then you go and have a seat for dining. And now trends have changed in private clubs. That's not necessarily the way that the behavior patterns are of clubs. They like to get that bar space out of there to free up some more dining area in there, as well as bring the bar into the lounge area here, the living room area here, so you can have that socialization there. So this room, in terms of taking that wall down and making it movable where it can be closed off and open up, allows flexibility, a multiple space that can work with the area on the other side of the wall, and it can also be shut off. Now, as I get to the later phases of the presentation, I think this is an underutilized room. It's used for showers and small gatherings and things like this. I think this has long range, has much more potential if we can make it connected, perhaps with the terrace out here, and make it connected to the lower level as we talk about the pool area, but that's a much later phase. So we want to also now, we're at that 15, 16-year mark with the mixed grill, and that's a heavily used area. So we've got to go in and aesthetically upgrade it and improve the carpet and the tables and chairs. And as we go through these areas, the HVAC systems will be improved as well. And we're also, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to address the lighting systems in here as well, and also the acoustics that are in there. So we're going to refresh that area. But as an added benefit, we're going to open up the wall on your golf course side, as I often refer to as your oceanfront property. We're going to open that wall out and create a terrace out there. So that will flow out, the grill room will flow out into that upper terrace, essentially making that a three-season room. And so that'll really be a great benefit for a number of reasons. You know, I can never give you too much outdoor space. That's one of the trends. Everybody comes to the club, and what they want to do, they want to sit outside. And so we're compacted down on the lower level. And so let's get you upstairs, stay on the main level here at the Vic's Grill and open it up. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to open it up, we'll be using a term called a nanowall. It's a manufacturer of a wall of glass that can open and close depending upon the seasons and the conditioning out in the room. So that makes a great experience. I'm going to show you an example of that in just a minute. So the outdoor terrace is directly off the mixed grill. It's going to have about 60 seats out there. And so that'll be a wonderful space for dining out on the grill, overlooking your golf course. Now, a component of that, as you all know, in the lower grill, is you have your bar area there. So what we want to do is we want to bring the bar up to the knuckle of the terrace. And for those that use the terrace over by the ballroom side, you see how popular that has become. And we're going to bring that all the way around. So that's going to be a great experience out there. So you can see how we're addressing the member experience in that area. So that's going to increase socialization, and then you'll be able to dine out there as well. Now, ladies, can we all say finally?
Yes.
Yeah, I think finally the time has come. You know, the gentlemen have been well cared for here, and my partner Bob Hickman has been working with the folks here and going through various designs and things. So we're looking at aesthetically enhancing the ladies' locker room. So that will be new wooden lockers, all finishes, floorings, walls. Also refreshing completely of the wet areas, as well as the card room and the lounge as you first come into it. So it's a complete redo of the ladies' locker room. I put it in the booklet. You'll see some representative images. We try not to do a whole lot of renderings, but this is just a representative image of a concept of one of our past projects, showing the wooden lockers and just lightening it up, and just making it a whole lot better than it currently is. You know, we're well past the useful life of the aesthetics and appointments in the ladies' locker room. We get over to the ballroom, and the ballroom certainly is an important component from a revenue perspective here, but also for all those life memories that we have that we want to enjoy at the club. And so it's a refresh of the ballroom. Now, what we're hoping to do in the renovation over there is certainly to renew all the wall finishes and the floor issues and things, but we're also going to try to install a movable partitioning system that enables us to make the ballroom smaller or open it up for the larger events. By doing that, we're able to correct one of the challenges that we saw just studying the club is how folks have to go to the ballroom and going through the member grill area. So in this partitioning, we'll be able to segment the ballroom off, and so whether the event's in the front or the back, we'll be able to have access from the lobby area direct into the ballroom. So you'll be able to come in this way. These rooms will close off, and you'll be able to come in this way and walk down. It's hard to see in this drawing. You'll see in the booklet here. Right now, we have a little protrusion coming out of the kitchen. We're going to take that back into the kitchen, and then the partitioning will occur along this area here. So this area, and of course, the connectivity with the outside terraces. Now, this is the area here that what we'd like to do is right now you walk along here and you come into your ballroom. We'd like to be able to close that off, and also you go out to the terraces as well and make that kind of the back of the house. You know, it's really challenging there if you think about it. On a busy Saturday or Friday night, you've got staff members coming out of the kitchen servicing the lower terrace. We have perhaps folks going to the ballroom that are coming that way, and we have folks that are coming to dine in the lower terrace, and we're all convening right at that one spot at the clubhouse. And so we like to improve that cross-traffic situation that occurs. And then we have the renovated upper level card room area as well. And again, upgraded HVAC systems as we go through each one of those areas for improvement. Now, we've done a conceptual rendering of the outside of the clubhouse on the golf course side to show you that we have the terrace extended, the new terrace there, and we have it covered, and the intent is to make it kind of a 3-season room. So we can actually extend the season here a little bit and get you outside. So when the lower level terrace closes down, you'll be able to still get outside on that upper level terrace. So that's the rendering there, and you can see in the center the new adult cabana bar. So that should be a great hub of activity and socialization for those activities there. Now, we have not gotten to the point of picking out anything in terms of colors or anything like that, but know that the walls will be refreshed, the carpet will be replaced, and the furniture in there will be upgraded, and as well as the lighting and addressing some of the acoustical systems. The most important thing, the improvement here, because we're not changing the structural nature of that room, is the nano wall. And so a lot of folks don't have experience with that. This is one of our other projects that, like you, they wanted to get outside, and we created an upper terrace. Now, that upper terrace, you know, it's going to be extremely popular on great nights. And so if you don't come early, you're not going to be out there. So the challenge is, well, how do we fix that? And you fix it by using that nano wall system. So this is the wall of glass. So you can see here how it opens up. And so the outside and the inside flows together. And it makes a great experience. I was here a little bit earlier, and somebody called in with a call for reservation. Can I be outside? I want to be outside. We don't have any available seats. Okay, thank you very much. There wasn't a reservation taken. They've now decided to go someplace else for dinner. So we want to be able to have that opportunity for members to enjoy their experience here at the club. With the nano wall open on a night like tonight, you'll be able to sit inside and feel like you're inside and out and all together. So that's a very, very important component. Now, taking you outside of the clubhouse, let's talk a little bit about the tennis program here. And I'm sure there's a lot of tennis players here. You've got a great tennis program and activities here. And again, another area that is well past its useful life certainly is the tennis locker and wet areas. And so on our lower pictures here, and for those that don't take advantage of the tennis operation here, that's the existing pictures of the locker areas and the wet areas. And so we have a representative image for one of our projects. Again, just renewing that area in its current location, all new finishes, and those day lockers being in there. So that's proposed as phase one, all of those components. But going back to the opportunity to develop a long-range plan, what are some of the potential future phases that you want to look at? The idea is, let's study all the pieces of the puzzle and see if it all fits together if we were to do it at one time, even though it may be implemented over a period. So those elements of the future phase are the garden room area here. How are we going to make this with perhaps an outside terrace? And even overlooking the parking lot, the drive sequence would be very nice because you have the pool sequence here, and the ability to get down to the pool area would be nice. Certainly the pool is one that is on the radar screen. The halfway house, the kids' camp, the road frontage, and the golf course. Continue with the golf course improvements. So let's take these one at a time. it's really interesting with pools, and I'm sure we have a lot of pool users here, but it wasn't but 10 years ago when we talked about pools and master planning that most of the comments that came back was, just fill it in with dirt. We're here and plant grass because we're here to play golf. But pools are the #2 amenity for recruitment of prospective members to a private club. That dynamic has completely changed. So when you're long-range thinking here, you have to look at the pool as a potential improvement. Certainly the changing rooms and such need to be upgraded, and they really play an important part of attracting prospective members. And it's just an amenity you must have. So that's your existing pool, and then one of the pools that we have, swim teams, are very important with lanes. And when you get into pool design, if you go from 6 lanes to 8 lanes, parents that you've been in a swim meet, you know that you're here for a long time in a swim meet. You go from 6 to 8, you reduce that time by 30%. So some of the things that you want to think about as you get into that. But that's down the road. Now your halfway house and snack bar, that little building up there has a joint purpose. It's the halfway house for the golfers, and it's the snack bar for the pool. And so, what do we do with it long range? And in our thinking, and the representative picture that we have here is the halfway house at this club in Hartsdale, New York, Scarsdale Golf Club. And we did their facilities, and ladies, it was the ladies' locker room that drove that program, and we did the halfway house as well. And you can see there that it's really turned in almost to like a Starbucks, and it has a grill in there, but it also has a lot of grab-and-go components and salads that are made. The staff here will also make salads for you when you're there. And so that's a great, and it certainly has all the components of coffee and all the drinks and things. So that's something that when I was going through my file, I thought, well, that's representative of where you want to go in the future, given the size that you have over there. When we did the program back in '99, the kids camp came on. And you, quite honestly, ladies and gentlemen, were ahead of your time when you did the kids camp, because the whole issue in private clubs of being, are you family friendly, or quite honestly, are you only really family tolerant? You went the extra length and really became family friendly with development of the kids camp. So you were ahead of your time. Now you're into that second generation of development for the kids camp, where it's such a popular amenity that you don't have enough space out there. And so they're being pushed outside. So when you look down the road, there's plenty of space out there that you should look at expanding the kids camp. And we just did through Photoshop, expanded that building. It's not the greatest architectural work, but we wanted to show it was expanded. And then you want to incorporate different amenities with that, like sport courts and things, play areas for the kids. And I will tell you that adding amenities like that make you very, very appealing to prospective members when they're looking to join a club. Now, one of the issues that, quite honestly, the first time I came here was the issue with the road frontage. And I'd like to see that addressed, certainly, and I know many of you would like to see that addressed as well with the stockade fence. And so we asked our landscape architects to give us a potential solution. And quite honestly, you can take that stockade fence down. You have to understand why it's there. It provides screening, and P.S. it provides security as well. So the combination of those two is certainly a tree row and a fencing that goes in there. And so as the trees grow together, you have your screening and you have the security of the fence. And I think that would be a very, very nice, attractive, quite honestly, much more attractive than that 1,700 feet of road frontage you have out there, certainly given with the development in the area. And then certainly, in the development of the long-range plan, and we have a major component in the program being the golf course irrigation, but no one should be concerned that it's still the program to continue to address the golf course improvements as needed during normal CapEx, and we keep that as your number one asset here. That's so very, very important. Okay, so we get into, and if you page through the book, you probably have seen the numbers already. And so I'm going to review with you where we are with the numbers. And so, as you can see in no particular order, we have a low and high range, and that's quite honestly where we are right now. We've done some drawings to the extent that you see them in your hands and seen them up on the screen. That's as much as we've done. but through our experience and certainly working with the in-house folks here and some local contractors, we have good ranges of dollars to look at in terms of what these programs will cost from a low to high, and you can see the list there: ballroom, mixed grill, living room, patio. The intent is to be all-inclusive, being anything of soft costs and furnishings, the HVAC system. And two particular important areas that were not called out in the specific improvement by a room dealing with the systems here is the boiler replacement. And that's a major component, as you can see here, the 200 to 210. And that's one of the good things that the board and long range planning committee did is they said, we've got a major system here. Let's do the analysis of that. And so all those components have been studied, and the useful life kind of spelled out as how long they're going to be. So we know we need to deal with the boiler replacement, and then also the clubhouse generator, $190,000 to $200,000 is in there as a clubhouse generator, so which is very, very important to have a clubhouse generator to keep activities going. So that's a lot of money by any means, but since I've given over 1,000 of these informational meetings and talked to cost, you immediately want to go to, well, what's it going to cost me? Because that's the bottom line. What are we asking the members? And we have, cost to members. I like to say, look at it as the member investment in their club. And this is your club, an extension of your home. And so here is, all the categories could not be listed because there's a number of categories. So these are the most populated categories in the club. And we look at the membership category: regular members under 80, social, clubhouse, tennis, all members 80 plus, juniors 31 to 34, and juniors 23 to 33. So that's the new master plan renovation plan payment. So as I said, not all membership categories are listed. If you're currently paying the $85 per month, that assessment is scaled by membership class. So it will all be replaced with the new master plan renovation payment as the limit. So if you're paying $85, you're going to go to the $130. If you're paying less than the $85 and you're in one of those membership categories, you're going to go to the $130 program. The financial model is based on debt and servicing that debt, and through all the analysis, the club would incur a debt of $3.5 million for a 3.15% over a payment plan of 10-year term. So this keeps you away from having upfront assessments, and you pay essentially as you go. So if you're in your horizon of life, if you're at the end and you think maybe that I might be retiring or moving out of the area, when you leave, the obligation is over. The new member comes in and picks it up and finishes it out that way. So it's very fair in that perspective. We also, in building the model, wanted to look at the current membership categories and say, okay, let's be conservative and say let's base it on 97% of the membership. And let's keep it at 97% all the way through the term and build that model. That's another level of conservatism built into the model. And as I mentioned, when new members come in, they'll pick up, depending upon the membership category and for the length of term that's left. So these are no one likes to spend a lot of money, but this is a way of approaching all membership categories in a conservative nature and spreading it out for the good of the club. So last couple slides, and then we'll open it up for the Q&A, the timeline for implementation. Next week, you'll be receiving another copy of the brochure, if that's in your hands, via mail. In there will be information and proxy material for a vote. The objective is that we have membership approval August, September timeframe. That will all be spelled out in the package. In September 2015, the golf course improvements will be initiated. Ladies, the locker room improvements this fall and winter in November 2015. And then when we get in after December, We'll get into the balance of the clubhouse improvements in January and be done as we come back up into the season, and then the tennis improvements will be done at the same time. So the golden rule in private clubs is to minimize member disruption while we do improvements, and that's generally a quieter time. A lot of people are away during that period. So that's the approach. The club will remain open during the improvements. We're not doing anything with the kitchen. We'll be able to shift dining around as need be, and the sequencing of those programs. So you'll still have those that enjoy the club in that time period will still be able to enjoy it. And, you know, in all reality, it's going to be a construction site, but, you know, so realize that, but we'll minimize it as much as possible.